Hello, good evening and a very warm welcome to Rangers Radio. Hello, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. I'm Southside and joining me on the show this evening is AK and the legend as the Bridgeman. How are you guys?
Good evening, Southside. Evening, Bridgeman. I take a team and everybody that's listening.
Bridge, how are you?
Thank you very much, Southside. Thanks for getting me on the show. I'm happy. And good evening to AK. And, of course, the Techie boys in the background. Can I just give a big shout-out to all the Rangers fans and listening in all overall. Good evening. Welcome to Rangers Radio.
Hi. Just before I come to you guys, I'll just put a wee message out there. Obviously, as we know, there's been a lot of... we've got a lot of new technology coming into the show. And we're working on a lot of things. So the phone lines have been going a bit mad at the moment due to everything that we're having to put together. So if you do phone in, we will try and get you on the show tonight. Just be a bit patient with us because obviously we want callers to phone up. But at the moment, there's a lot of things happening in the background now at Rangers Radio, and the techie team are pulling their hair out, to be honest. But we're glad we've got a show again tonight, and thanks to them. So hopefully if you phone in, you bear with us and we'll get you on the show tonight. AK, how are you?
I'm fine, mate. I'm fine. My paper cup and string's still working. The techie team are doing a grand job back here, but hopefully we get to the bottom of it, get it sorted for the listeners.
Aye, you know, the hard work, Bridge, eh?
Oh, aye, absolutely. The boys are doing brilliantly. I just hope, as AK says, I hope it all works out desperately. I'm desperate to get away off of Skype. If I can get off of Skype, go on a better platform, which I believe Teams is. However, we've been working with Skype for a long time now, and it seems to be not too bad. But performance-wise, not too bad. The techie boys themselves might tell us a slightly different. But as far as we're concerned, I'm just an ordinary panellist in that sense. I'm not techie. Used to be years ago, but no now.
I just give a shout out to all the YouTube troops that are on the night listening to the show and everybody else that's out there listening on Facebook and anything else that you're using your device to listen to the show. So welcome. AK, how are you? Been a long few days, eh? To now we can get back to a bit of football.
Aye. We're still trying to get out of the European hangover, aren't we? But it's back to domestic stuff, and unfortunately we've not got a hell of a lot to play for. But every time you wear that Rangers jersey, you should have something to play for. You've got supporters paying good money, coming out to see you play and expect a Rangers victory. So hopefully we get back to winning ways tomorrow in Paisley.
Aye, no such thing as a meaningless game, Bridge.
Well, there shouldn't be. I think that come up as one of the topics on the show the last time I was on Tuesday night. I just can't see why anybody involved with Rangers would want to think that it's a meaningless game. I dare say, if you're looking at it as far as the league's concerned, it may be meaningless. But no, as far as Rangers are concerned, we should be using these games to make changes, bring people in, if this is what we want to do. Because I don't think there's anything to lose for us in the league other than pride. So if we're going to say, well, we don't want to lose because of pride, which is what I want. I don't want to lose any more games. So therefore, it's up to you, manager, go and do it. But nothing should be meaningless in Rangers. Nothing. A free kick, nothing should be meaningless. No throw-ins, no free kicks, no nothing. It should all be either caused by something, or we're just rubbish. We're just rubbish as a club, So we need to get ourselves sorted out. As far as I'm concerned, they're all meaningful.
Aye, well, they should. Although we know where we are in the league and that, and everything's like that way, you should still be pride. And when you get there, you should want to win. That's what we're supposed to do as a club. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow and see how the attitude and the application is. there, because there's nobody I want to see something. First time we'll ever saw it with St Mirren turning us 3 times in one season. It's just getting a bit ridiculous amount of the teams that have beat us twice this year and took points off us. So it's just to get that sorted, I think, now, you guys. I'll tell you what to do. Our manager done an interview this afternoon. So if you two guys would like to go into mute, we'll listen to what Barry had to say, and then we'll get the phone lines open.
Barry, you've had a bit of distance, a bit of time since the last game. What's the last 10 days been like for you and the team?
I gave him a few days off after the game, just to reflect, because obviously it was a disappointing night for us in terms of the result. But this week's been pretty positive. I've given them a challenge. We've got 5 games to go and I want 15 points. I'm clear on that. They understand that, and the training week's been really good this week. So we'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. But we're going to a place where it's going to be difficult. We know that they're a very well organised team. In my opinion, they've got some very good players and a very good manager. So we'll expect a tough game.
How's your squad looking in terms of injuries?
We've got a few injuries. Balogun's out after his operation. Ridvan's out for the season. Obviously, you know about Dujon Sterling is out for a long period of time. Tom Lawrence still out. And we've got 1 or 2 that only started to train yesterday, part of the training session. They've done another part today. And again, I just need to wait and see. So that's a couple of players that we may have available or we may not have available.
Barry, with all the injuries and the fact that you can't win any trophies this season, you've said you want 15 points from these final 5 games, but what's your remit now to approach it? Are you looking just short term, it's just about winning, or is it an opportunity to give younger players or players who might have a bigger role at the club next season a bit of game time?
No, it's about winning the last 5 games of the season. You'll find out if I give young players the opportunity. I says I'm not going to give young players an opportunity just for the sake of they're young players. They need to show me in training. You've seen over the last maybe 3 or 4 weeks since I've come in, I'm not scared to give a young player an opportunity, but as I said, they need to show me enough in training, and if they do that, then they'll certainly be given an opportunity.
Barry, this week the club confirmed that they're holding positive conversations with a US consortium about a potential takeover. Do you see that as a good sign of progress for the club as a whole?
Yeah, but listen, to be honest with you, I'm not part of the talks. Obviously, I'm like you, I seen what got released at the Rangers Forum at Edmiston House, so it looks positive. We just need to wait and see how long that's going to take, whether it's a couple of weeks or a month or a couple of months. But it is certainly positive news, and it's certainly something that the Rangers fans, I think, will welcome.
As a supporter of the club yourself, if you take the hat of head coach off, just how exciting a time is this for the club with something like this on the horizon?
Yeah, it's something that I've made clear that there needs to be outside investment. I've said it now for a couple of years, so it looks as if it's going to be close now. It's just hopefully a matter of time. Whether that, as I said, I don't know. I've not got a time frame on how long that's going to take, but as a Rangers supporter, of course, I'm happy to see that talks are progressing well.
This is your hope. This is the reset the club needs and allows it to get back to the position where it can compete and win trophies.
I said last Thursday after the Bilbao game there was a lot of changes needed, and that's one of the changes. We've seen a sporting director get announced in the last day or two, so I've always maintained if the club wants to go and challenge and move forward, there's a hell of a lot of changes needed, but it's great to see that started.
Have you had the chance to speak with Kevin and tell him what's...
No, I've not, but I will. We've not got an exact day that it's going to be scheduled in, but I'll certainly be sitting down and banging heads together, I suppose.
Do you think that's an important part of the people coming in? They have to be made aware of the special requirements of playing and working for this club, and you've spoken enough, it's not just about enough to be a good player or a good sport director, it's a mental thing as well.
I've always said that you can't just be a good player at Rangers. There's loads of other attributes you need, because there's expectations, there's demands on you, and over the last number of years, the club haven't won enough trophies. Everybody can see that. It's not been good enough. So it's good to see that the club are starting to move forward. It's exciting times, and hopefully the changes that are going to be made will make a big difference.
Barry, just on that meeting with Kevin, how much do you expect to have a say in the club going forward, and how much do you want?
I don't know. I said I will have a meeting. I don't know when that is. But when we sit down, I'll be honest and I'll be clear. But it's good. He's an experienced guy. He's been about a lot of clubs, a lot of big clubs as well. So I think it was an appointment that was needed, and I think the club. I don't know him personally, but looking at his background, it looks to me if it's a very good appointment.
Any more clarity in your own future then, Barry?
No.
Will it be hard for you to walk away from it?
But I can say, there's a couple of things I can say. If I get the job, I will make my club a better club. If I don't get the job, I'll still support my club. That's the way I'm looking at it. I've got 5 games to go. The final game's on the 17th of May. My focus is on this next few weeks. There's been a few bumps since I've come in. I knew that was going to be the case, but I wasn't frightened of that. But I know what this club needs.
Has this process, this period when you've been in charge here, reignited your fire for coaching? If it's not going to be here, could you see yourself going elsewhere?
No.
Oh, here only?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because it's my club, and I wasn't interested in going back into coaching, but I got an opportunity I never thought I would get. And I've come in and I've enjoyed every single second of it. Some of the results I've not enjoyed, they've hurt me. I've went away, but listen, I've come back in, ready to face it. And as I said, it's been a brilliant few months. There's still another few weeks to go. And it's not about just coming in here and just enjoying it. I enjoy the challenge of it because it is a big challenge. But in terms of in the future, managing elsewhere, no, I had a good life before. I enjoyed my role at Rangers before, and if it's not going to be managing, then hopefully I'll just go back to that and enjoy what I was doing.
In terms of your meeting with Kevin Miller, you said that you'll be honest with him. Do you think that's what is needed at Rangers?
Yeah, I think you
need
need
to
to
be
be
really honest with each other about players here, the direction the club needs to go in.
I want what's best for Rangers Football Club, and you need to be open and honest about that, and that's the way I will be.
Do you feel more optimistic now about being here next season than you did when you first came in?
No, I never. I just looked at it as a 3-month period where I was brought in to help the club, because what was happening before, it was clear there was a lot of issues. I never looked at it long term. I looked at it more short term, to come in and try and sort some things. Have I done that? Yeah, I have, but there's also other things that still need improving, but you can't do that over a short period of time.
Barry, just listening to what you're saying, do you, and the fact you wouldn't want to coach or manage anyone else, do you feel you are the best person then to take Rangers forward under the new regime? Would that be fair to say?
I wouldn't say I'm the bit. What I will say is I've been through the door now a couple of months, and I know the changes that are needed. But in terms of the best, look, there's obviously names getting mentioned who have got a lot more experience in myself. But I'll back myself. I always will back myself. Listen, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I know I can do the job alongside the staff that I've brought in. But we just need to wait and see. Look, as I said, I'm not getting carried away. I'm not thinking further ahead than the game on Saturday, if I'm being honest with you, because we're going to a place where it's a difficult place at the best of times to try and get 3 points. So we need to make sure we go there. And as I said, I've gave the players a challenge of the next 5 games, and they need to take that, or they need to look at that challenge, and they need to go and meet it head on.
So if you're asked to stay but in a different capacity, so not a head coach, would you entertain that, or is it head coach or nothing?
No, I'll go back to my role as club ambassador.
But in the football department?
No, listen, I've got I know what you're trying to get out of me here with go and work with somebody else or whatever. I know what I'm going to do, whether that's manage the football club or go back to representing the club in an ambassadorial role.
Barry, if the league is finally wrapped up tomorrow, will that be a kind of painful moment for everyone here? Will it make it kind of real at that point, that how far you have to go?
Well, it'll be painful for me. It'll be painful for my staff, it'll be painful for the supporters, and I want it to be painful for my players. Because you're at Rangers and we need to start properly challenging for trophies.
Thinking back to the days when you were a player here and you were coming off a pitch and then seeing scenes of Celtic lifting titles, I mean, what were those memories like for you? What were those days like for you as a player?
Horrible summers. But I was ready to come back in and work my backside off to make sure that didn't happen again. It's sore when you see your fiercest rivals win trophies. You don't like to see that. It should make you even more determined, and hopefully that's going to be the case next season.
Barry, can I ask you about the personalities of some of your players? You've spoken about it in the past. You have to be able to deal with playing at a club like Rangers. Is that something you can see straight away when you came into the club? And can you almost change that in the players, or are some players just knocked out for it?
No, it's something I identified, and when I first took the job, it's something when I sat down with him, I explained certain attributes you need to be a Rangers player, because you're under pressure. As I said, there's demands and expectations every single time you cross that white line. You're expected to win games, you're expected to win trophies, and if you don't, you're going to come in for criticism. And when you get that criticism, you need to handle it. I come in for a lot of criticism, it's no nice, but you know what? Made me even more determined to go and prove a lot of people wrong. And that's what the group of players need to do in this short period of 5 games. We need to go and show, or they need to go and show, that they want to be part of this club going forward.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye, there's a lot packed into that, and a wee bit of 10-minute interview today. AK, obviously he touched on the injuries, which I think most of us knew. I think we're all wondering where Lawrence was, but he's touched on Balogun, obviously, after getting his cheekbone surgery. Ridvan, Sterling and Lawrence will all be missing, and apart from 1 or 2 others, which we're not sure about. It should be, the rest of them should be ready to go tomorrow.
I should be. Well, hopefully. He did say that there was another couple of them. They weren't in training, in full training, and kind of joined latter sessions. He didn't name names, but either there's 4 at least missing, probably to the end of the season. We're looking at, but there was a few interesting quotes coming out for Barry in that wee piece that Fox played there. It seems to me, guys, I don't know about you, but if he's no been full-time manager, he's certainly not going to be a number 2 to anybody. So he can rule anybody that was thinking along their lines, that he can rule your thoughts out. I don't know whether that's Barry's ego that's telling him that, or whether it's, well, is it for the better for the club, and that he just goes back to an ambassador role? I don't know. There was a few interesting quotes coming out anyway, Southside.
Aye, no, obviously don't hear it, didn't ever see Barry Bridge working as a number 2 of that behind anybody else. I think it was him that wanted to lead the ship. Should he have been given a chance? But otherwise than that, I think he was, if the club want him and the role's still there, he'll go back to the ambassador role at Rangers.
Well, that's, if he wants that and the club are willing, then that'll happen. I don't know if they're going to move Barry anywhere at all. It might be straight out the door. And the whole shooting match at Ibrox, from a management perspective, that's what I feel might happen. In fact, I really feel it will happen. I think they'll all be moved on, and I don't think they'll be moved back into ambassadorial roles or anything. I just don't see whether this mob will want ambassadors. You know, I love it. I love the thought of ex-players coming in and meeting people and so on and so forth. I think that's brilliant. But whether in fact this new mob are going to come in like that, I would doubt it. I think they want to get on and get it done, bring new people in, whomever they may be. I don't know what the people will be, whether it be a manager, but whomever they get in and get the job done, and let's get moving, get going forward. And I don't know whether any thoughts about Barry Ferguson will come into their mind. However, I do think that he's quite confident that he would still get the ambassadorial role, and I agree with the point that Kelso said there. By the sound of it, and I'm not being funny, by the sound of it, he doesn't want to be number 2, and that might be the reason he might not get an offer or anything. I don't think Barry was right in saying that. He shouldn't have said that at all. He shouldn't have mentioned that, because it's like that straight line, as AK says, that straight line there. If I'm not there and I'm going to be where I used to be, and that was the ambassadorial role, then I don't think he should have said that at all. He just said, just talk about the manager role. And all you need to say, well, we'll see what happens, you know. I think he's doing himself down there, to be honest.
He mentioned that a few weeks back, when he first came in, they asked him a question, and they said, look, I'm here up until May, and if the club still want me in my ambassador role, then that's where I'll go back to, basically, you know. So I don't see any qualms. It's just the way they were asking them the questions, obviously, to see if they could get some answers at them. But it's down to the new director of football, AK Kevin Thirlwell. It's down to him now, obviously, to have a big say in who becomes our next manager. And I know, obviously, it'll be good to talk to Barry, and he can probably give him an insight into things, but you'll have to be on the ball to sell the guy, you know. But you think it's a good appointment?
I'll reserve judgment. I'll certainly give him a chance. You know, I see a lot of forums out there dismissing the guy because of the job that he done at Everton, and you know they see where Everton is in the Premier League table, and they've been struggling, but they've been struggling for a good reason, because financially they've not been running their ship well, but they've got a new ownership themselves down there. It was Fahad Mashiri that was running the show for a few years down there, and he wasn't running it particularly well. They were throwing money at their team left, right and centre and breached the FFP rules. So that's why Everton were in a precarious situation, particularly for the last couple of years. But since David Moyes has come in there, he's certainly got a tune out of some of the players, some of the buys that this guy Thirlwell brought into Everton. So I think I'm hoping he's not going to be another Ross Wilson situation for me, because I wasn't too enamoured with the job that he done for us at Rangers. But you see, when Ross Wilson's doing it at Nottingham Forest now, he's got a lot more cash to spend down there. But up here at Rangers, every signing has got to be vital. That's the situation financially that we're in now, and we can't afford to throw, you know, 4 million at Cortez and Bizrami and Proper, and you know, no get a lot back off them for what we're paying them in wages and also expense. So he's going to have to hit the ground running. He's got a good pedigree. I had a wee look. I think he started he was a kind of youth academy guy, you know, so his pedigree goes back 20 odd years working in English football. Started with Preston, then went on to Derby, and then run the academy at Wolves before getting stepped up to the sporting director there. Obviously done a good job with them, bringing in a lot of Portuguese guys. Then went on to New York Red Bulls, and then landed back at the Everton for a director of football. So he has got experience and pedigree, and they're working at, you know, good clubs, but also under the financial constraints that Everton had. We're going to be in a similar situation. So he's got to have a good network, kind of people that he trusts. And I think he's going to sit down with Barry, explain, you know, of a director from above as well. And I'm pretty sure the owners will be telling him what sort of manager they're looking for. I just think, I mean, you've said it all along, Southside, you've been consistent on that. Barry's pedigree in getting the job in the first place, he's no got the credentials that a Rangers manager should have. But he came into the club at a time when the club needed somebody, and they needed to sell season tickets and that. So I think it was a good move for the club in that aspect. But going forward, I don't think Barry is the guy to lead us forward. But personally, I thank him for his efforts.
Aye, but like I said before, if Barry had the credentials to get the job, then he would probably got it before Clement. The fact that he said he wasn't so keen on coming back into football. He was happy in what he was doing, ambassador at Rangers, probably doing a bit for the bit of journalist work and that, and on some shows, Go Radio and whatnot. And I think he said if it doesn't work out, he wouldn't take it. He's not going to go back into football management. So he's made his intentions clear on that. But what do you think of the director of football appointment? Are you happy that we've got somebody that looks like they've done a decent job at Everton through their circumstances, and obviously he was responsible for, believe it, bringing Jota, Neves, Traore, Connor Cody and Donker. I think he brought them all at the time to Wolves, and he was responsible for bringing them in apparently. So it looks like he seems to have a knowledge about players, and he's done the same at Everton with the amount of players he brought to Everton. Bridge.
Yeah, like, first of all, you know, the guy coming in is going to be a breath of fresh air, in my opinion, or he's got to be, I should say, a breath of fresh air. Otherwise, why bring another person in? Blah blah blah. You know, and he's got to come in. He's got to win and win the hearts and minds of the fans, because they're going to they want to follow him. There's a lot of fans, including myself, were looking for a sporting director for the last possibly 2 years since we've had a sporting director or anybody in that type of position. So it's been a role that a lot of fans, most of the fans that I speak to anyway, are all thought we should have had. Why did we lose? When we lose two sporting directors or roughly that in a few years, and all of a sudden now for two years or more, we don't have any sporting director. In fact, some other members of the staff weren't there. So that this build-up and purchase that we're going to get, a big refresh. The main thing is getting the basics at the lower levels. Which, when I say lower levels, it's directorship. We're going in a sporting director, and this is what we need to do. It needs to be done, and that's the man that's going to have to drive everything from a football perspective. Everything's got to be driven through him. No matter what happens, it's got to go through him. And let's see what happens. I wish Barry all the best, and anything he's going to do, I mean that sincerely. You know, I thought he's done some tremendous stuff with the games that we've played and comebacks that we've had, and so on and so forth. And it was great to be part of that. But obviously, there's other days that just didn't work for him, you know. And that itself, this 50-50 in games, you know, it's not going to augur well for anybody trying to get a full-time job at Rangers if you can't win games against the Motherwells of this world, if you want. And no disrespect to any of these teams. We're speaking about a giant in football here. The Glasgow Rangers Football Club. We're a huge, huge club worldwide. Unbelievable that we're struggling to get a team on the pitch at times, you know. Anyway, I just wish Barry all the best when it happens.
Aye, listen, it's a results-driven business, and he's had a short time for when he came in, and we've had a couple of notable good results, but on the whole, it's not been great. But as you know, he came in because he needed the board and everybody was looking for change, and he had this short window spell to get things together, probably more so AK. I think it was about stalling attitude application into somebody who's been the manager, captain and player at the club, along with the rest of the people he brought in. So I think it's something that the players should take note and listen to when they speak regarding what it is to play for Rangers. And he did say it takes more than being just a good player, AK.
Oh, 100%, mate. 100%. And that's the message that Barry, Neil McCann, Al McGregor, Billy Dodds brought to the dressing room, because I think some of the players had forgot about it. You know, they were going through the motions in some of the games, and it was obvious. And they've got history, they've got pedigree for doing that sort of things, because you just look at the last 10 years, how many managers we've been through. 8 managers we've been through in 10 years. And what are we up to? 152, 3 years of history, and we've only 19 managers in that time, and we've had 8 in the last 10 years. So that tells me that the players are the problem. They always have been, but the managers have been getting thrown under the bus and cost with their jobs. But I think we need a redo. I think we need a fresh mentality in there. New owners, new manager, new captain, new players, new mentality, the lot. We need to start again, but we need to get this right now. We've made money, but we've squandered the hell of a lot. You know, our runs in the European has been fantastic. These is good nights, but that's all they are. We want trophies as supporters. In the last 10 years, it's been obvious that we're underachieving. So we need to get back to a blueprint that works for us and stabilise the club for going forward. And I think that's everybody, the new owners need to draw up a strategy, but everybody needs to get in alignment with your director of football, your CEO, your chairman, managers, right down to the players on the park and the supporters. We've always been there. We'll get behind whatever's there, but if we see something that we don't like, we should voice our concerns, and we have voiced our concerns because we don't like what we've seen. So let's hope that this new beginning is, you know, that there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel at last, because we deserve it.
Aye, and obviously we'll touch on the joint statement shortly about Rangers and 49ers consortium. Put out just the other day, which more or less seals it, Bridge, that everything's just about completed, and it's just a matter about when the announcement's going to happen, by the sounds of it, because it looks like they're ready to come in lock, stock and barrel, by the sounds of it. They seem to have enough shares agreed by everybody that they're looking to get the 51%, and then it looks like, as they said, we're looking to probably do a share rights issue, and I believe they'll have a few investors in the background, and anybody else that wants to uptake, I'm sure you could, Bridge, dip into that vault of yours. That's what you've been doing the last 9 days, isn't it? Counting your money in that vault.
You know, you're not far wrong in what's going to happen. I think anybody that's got that type of interest at that level, I mean, they're always intrigued with the moves at that level. And I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to do the takeover, and then they're going to get people in who are going to invest their money straight into the share, just buy the shares and consolidate what they've got at the top, and nobody's ever going to be able to take them out again, if you follow what I mean. I think that's going to happen, going to happen in big style. But the first thing they need to do is get their 51%. I think that's what they're targeting. They want to go for a majority and then take it from there. And I think the first thing they'll do, maybe a couple of share issues, just to get the club, put some financial money into the club at a high level, you know. And then we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens then, because we've been hearing there's going to be a lot of stories. There's going to be a lot of money coming in. A set amount for players is going to be maybe double what we've had on a standard season. And I don't know if that's true, obviously. I hope it's true, and I hope they can get and buy good, decent players. You get, in my opinion, you get a decent manager first of all. And if they pick Barry, I'm sure Barry will do what Barry can do. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's really difficult, really difficult.
Aye, well, everything's just starting to fall into place now, AK. That's what's happening, everything's starting to fall in. We've got a director of football now, and that's in place, and it'll be down to him to get the next manager in and we'll see a structure start to happen. But I think if it's all right with you guys, we might as well see if we can get some callers in the night, even though the techie team's been working hard in the background, so hopefully. So if it's all right with you two guys, we'll see if we can get some callers in, so let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Aye, so hopefully that AK we'll get some callers in, and we'll see what they think, because there's a lot, obviously, the news breaking. We've got a new CEO in, and now we know that in a matter of weeks, maybe 6 weeks tops, possibly, we'll probably have the new owners, Andrew Kavanagh, and the rest of the other boys that are coming in with him to take over the club. And I think once that happens, I think we'll see things fall into place pretty quickly, because I believe in the background they'll probably know who the next manager is, you know.
Well, I think we're kind of reading between the lines a wee bit ourselves. A consortium of the magnitude that we're talking about here, they're going to do their due diligence. We believe they've been in the club for October, last year. So they would go through a fine-tooth comb the finances of the club, and where we went wrong and where they can improve, and where they, see possible, what they can do to benefit the club. They've done all that. I expect that they've already had discussions about potentially moving forward. Who's their targets as director of football? Well, Patrick Stewart's went and got him. Managers next on the agenda, and then we're looking at our recruitment and other things, and they should all tie into place, mate. You're talking about a worldwide organisation here, so and we're a worldwide fan base, so they can see loads of advantages for them. They're in to make money. Let's no mistake about that. But hopefully that comes with success. The supporters want success. Players will be wanting success. Manager wants success. Whoever it is going to come in. So that leads all the way up to the top. But the top of the tree has got to be right, and it's not been right for Dave King vacated his position. We know that, and we've been on a steady slope back to the dark old days. So hopefully we just want to see a chink at the light at the end of the tunnel again, don't we, mate?
Aye, it's got to be another fresh start, I suppose, Bridge. And I think the most critical thing now, apart from recruitment, when we're going to get some players to help the squad, the ones that will be taken forward with, I think it's just critical that this manager is going to be the right person to come in. And I think it'll split the support. Obviously, a large demographic of age, and who you might like as a manager. Do you want a disciplinarian type manager, or do you want a man manager that will talk to players and stuff, or are you looking just for a progressive manager coming in, somebody who's maybe done well the last couple of years and could maybe come in and do a job, and he's that? I think all that will need to be looked at, but to me, I think we need to get an experienced manager, somebody who's won things about the place, Bridge, to be honest, in a couple of places abroad or whatever. I think that's what we've got to get.
Well, I think, personally speaking, and just use this, and everybody knows I'm quite open about this, I would go and get Steven Gerrard if we could get him in cheap. If he would come in, I think he's got a calling about him. I know he did no too bad over in Saudi Arabia, but then he's lost his position there. I'm not really sure whether he wants to go to English Premiership or would he come to Rangers for a couple of seasons. I think we get him or someone of that ilk, because I'm looking for someone who's a statesman on the pitch for the club, and knows his stuff. He's got class, can talk to people, handles the press really, really well, and does all the great things that's required other than the football, And I thought we did very well. We had a good season with him. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd take him back in a heartbeat. However, I think I heard today that we're looking at Jose Mourinho again. And that's about 3 times that's come up that he's going to come in. And just what you were saying there, South said that you want somebody that's won things, and particularly in the European area. Well, you can't do any more than him, I don't think, as a manager. But you think to yourself, do you want him, or do you want maybe one of these stern-looking Italian managers? Maybe better for us, I don't know. I would take Stevie Gerrard any day of the week, and I say in a heartbeat. And I think it'd be brilliant to get him in, along with the sporting director, and I'm sure they'll be able to do things, because they're going to have to have a clean sweep. I'm quite sure I think I was reading that there's another Dundee boy on Rangers radar who's a free agent at the end of the season.
Josh Mullins.
So that may happen. But the thing is, I object to these things because we've got another boy coming in from Dundee. He's at the end of the season. No transfer fee involved, but we're going to have to pay, in all probability, the best part of £2 million for those two players. And you know, I've hardly seen any of them playing, and now we're going to, because of it's this what do they call it, a development fee or something like that. So you might know a wee bit more about that than I do, and hopefully you'll be able to tell us.
I've watched the boy, and I thought in the games that he's played against us, he's played well. I think he plays central midfield, right side of midfield, and I heard they're saying he can probably fill in at right back. But the boy in the games against us has played really well. He's strong, he's physical, picks the ball up midfield, he drives forward. In any of the games I've seen him, I think he's looked decent. I know he's out of contract, AK. I don't know if you've noticed him for Dundee any time, but in a few games that I've seen, and especially against us, I think he's actually played pretty well. And at 22, he might be the right type of player to come into our squad. No saying start, I'm saying come into the squad. We keep saying we need some boys that are Scottish and whatnot to come into the squad, but whether they will come to Rangers or no, I don't know.
Listen, I've heard you speak about him before, and he has caught the eye because he's got tore in about us, that's for sure. I always remember an interview Souness done years ago. There are two types of players in Scottish football. The English, you just think it's easy up here. It says you've got players that is desperate to play well against Rangers because they're either Rangers supporters desperate to join the club, or else they're Celtic supporters desperate to hurt the club. So they don't get any easy games on paper, certainly. And we've seen that, the effort that St Mirren put in, you know, in Hibs and Motherwell and Hearts and Aberdeen. They all seem to go that extra gear against us. It's maybe us that's not been as dominant as what we should be. But they certainly put a lot of effort and endeavour into. I mean, Simon Murray's a perfect example as well. You know, he always seemed to score against us with Ross County. He's a Rangers supporter, the guy. And he's went to Dundee and he's hurt his head at Dundee. I know he's in the twilight of his career. I think he's 31 or something now.
I think he's a wee bit older than that. I think he's a wee bit older.
They're even talking about him on the short list for the Scotland's Player of the Year this year. You know, I know Bridge doesn't like to give a brass penny to any of these clubs, but I think we're missing that identity. You look at all the great Rangers teams that we've had in the past, your Andy Gorhams, David Robertsons, John Brown, you know, guys like Ian Ferguson. We've always kind of cherry-picked the other clubs in Scottish football to strengthen our team. All right, they're not good enough to step up to Europe, a lot of these players, but by God, did they make an impact? Chris Boyd, Nacho Novo and R2, even go back to Jim Baxter in your day, Bridge. We've always had these guys. We Alec McDonald, I think we got for St Johnstone. Davy Cooper, Clyde Bank. So
Marvin Andrews done as a job.
Brilliant, aye.
Aye, it's the boy I like, to be honest, that I've noticed more this year was the boy Prentice. It was at Livingston. I think they got him for a steal when Livingston got relegated. And I think he's really shown up for Hearts this year. I think he's been a really good player. He always gets down the lines, he's got an engine, he gets something down the park, he puts in crosses all day long. Reminded me about a Borner when he gets down and he doesn't need a lot of time to cross. He can even take it in close and then just ping a ball right in the box. But that boy's impressed me this year, and I think Hearts, and saying that, he's doing well at Hearts. You've got to then step up again, Bridge, as we talk about. So sometimes we sign these players and sometimes they'll go in and kick on. But the problem is, Bridge, you're meant to bring sort of these boys in and even the young lads, when we're trying to bring them, you usually bring them in when your team's doing well, the squad's settled, you know, and you're only bringing them in one and twos, whereas we're exposing them now to being...
Oh, you're going to be depending on them. And sorry for interrupting you, sorry.
No, on you go, Bridge.
You're going to be depending on them. If you're bringing these players in and the fans see that they're not getting a game and you've been charged a development fee 2 development fees to bring the two of them in for them. But boy Cameron and then this boy, can't remember his name now for the life of me. It's going to be looked at again. So that's 2 boys. As I say, I reckon you'll not be far short of £1.5 million to £2 million in development fees, charges for the boys. That's what I think. I've been wrong before, so forgive me. But it's going to cost us money. And if the fans see that, people coming in and paying that money for them, and all of a sudden you're finding they actually can't get a game for whatever reason. Might not do with their play. It might just be that overall they're not good enough for they're not got the qualities that we're looking for. But if you look at it through our team now, there's a lot of the players in there don't have the qualities that we want. So the boys might be a big improvement on what we've got. And you know, AK said, I don't want to offer any money to any Scottish team, not one copper coin. I make that quite plain. However, I'm no stupid. I know if we end up getting a chance to get someone, they'll bring them in. Once he hits their round, I'm supporting him. I'm supporting him. I don't care who he is. Whenever I'm seeing him playing for us, I'm happy. But to get them there, it's a different ball game. I don't want to even look at MD in Scotland. I think we should have scouts all over Europe picking up players. You see a lot of teams in the Championship in England, they're bringing players in from all over the world, particularly Africa area, you know. And they're coming in, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What a find, you know. And they go on next 4 years or so in the Premiership and improve themselves. We want to be able to do that kind of thing. So obviously we do. But for some reason, well, it's not there was some reason. The real reason is we just don't have the money to go and get these players for some reason. So maybe this new group are coming in will put some cash in there and let us go and get some players. They may not be, European champions quality, but we want to get somebody that can come in and do a job even at Europa League level for us. That's what I want.
I think it's just about trying to build a squad. You know, that's what we've got today. We've got to build a squad that can compete. Or, as we keep saying, you're not going to have superstars or the parquet in your team. You need the water carriers, people that they have to go and do the fetching, the running, brighten up play, but they'll maybe not go and beat 2 and 3 men and they'll open up with passes, but they'll do that job that'll go unnoticed and it helps the team. And that's why I think sometimes when we look at people are looking at Conor Barron at the moment, he's not looking like he's comfortable in there again since he's come back in the team. But I think once we get a structure and a style of play for the new manager and going forward, and whether Conor Barron stays or maybe moves on the following season, and that there'll maybe be players we might not be able to get rid of in the summer, but between January and the following summer, they'll probably move on, and whether that will dictate whether there'll be any use days in the squad. You'd like to think if we're keeping them and we can't get rid of them, we might use them. But hopefully, you need squad players, and you'll need the less fashionable players or names, let's say, AK at times.
I think we're just going to be sensible about it. I mean, the director of football will probably be already having discussions with the new owners about a strategy going forward. I think we've got to learn from our mistakes. So, Ross Wilson, we weren't forking out a great amount in transfer fees and that. Obviously, Ryan Kent was the exception with 7 million. We had a look at him for a year and we thought we were getting value for money. But apart from getting to Seville, I think he deteriorated in value because I think he was convinced he was going to get a move after that and it didn't materialise. And obviously Gerrard left the very guy who, brought him to the club. So I think his mentality wasn't there, his head wasn't there. And I think that you could name that a lot of players like say Kamara and Aribo, guys of that ilk as well. And because of that, the team suffered. But what we were doing and what eventually stung us was the noose round the club's neck is the wage bill increased tenfold. I think Gerrard, when he came in initially, I think we'd maybe be around about the 20, 25 million possibly, which is a hell of a lot of money. Of course it is, but it then spiralled up to 50, 60 million to be the most, in Scotland, and that became a real problem for us, and hence it steeped, basically into Clement's tenure. He was getting told, you can't buy a player until we get rid of high earners, and we get rid of a few high earners because the contracts expired, but we've still got a hell of a lot with Butland and Tavernier and Hadji and Matondo, Lawrence, Dow, the Cifuentes. They guys are still getting paid in excess 25 grand a week, 30 odd grand a week. I think Butland's maybe even 40 grand a week. That's obscene. But that's where the attraction was to come to our club, because we didn't have to forfeit a transfer fee in the first place. So we've got to be more clever, more astute with the contracts that we're paying out, more astute with what sort of players we'll be bringing in. The injury-prone players with Roof and Hollander as well. It was all there staring you in the face. There were reasons why their clubs were wanting rid of them, because they weren't making a lot of their games. Well, we've spoken about it umpteen times. Allbear's been brilliant on it with stats. Basically, at Rangers, you're looking for about 60 odd games a year. And Tavernier and Golson were the only two guys, even Dessers, to be fair to him. They're the only three that's basically been available for the vast majority of the games. We need the vast majority of the squad players to be available for 80% of the games, which is probably in the 30 to 40 starts per season. And I think that's where we've got to look at the Scottish market, because it's a cheaper kind of brand of player, as you like, less quality, but at least they're going to be available. They're going to be robust to the Scottish game. So all these factors come into play, mate, but it's going to be interesting in the next few months, recruitment, who's going out and who's coming in.
Aye, because although you're available every week to play, you've got to be playing well. You've got to play in your game as well as just saying, oh, he turns up. And I know I'm getting what you're saying. I heard Dessler saying today he's got friends in Belgium and they're playing 30, 34 games a season. He's playing 60, close to 60 games a season. And that's the difference of what he's talking about. And it's the same, you have to be ready. And the games come thinking fast here, the physicality of the league. But I just think recruitment will be important, Bridge, and I think we might have to maybe bring in a couple of players, possibly around about the 26-year-old mark, 25, maybe even 27, with that bit more experience that can bring in and will adapt to this type of league and the schedules that we play, more than we are bringing in the young boys. And then sometimes they struggle with the physicality of the league and you're exposing them. I mean, their bodies have got to learn to cope with the demands over a period of time at the club, because they're not playing these amount of games that they're playing before they come here. So if they're going to be in the team week in, week out, you're in Europe, you're in cups, and you've got the league, you're close to playing 50 to 55 games a season.
100%. It'd be interesting to know with the mates of Dessers, when he was saying they're playing 34 games a season. Is that the league? Is that only the league in Belgium? Or is that
they're playing 30 to 34 games or whatever it is in the league.
In the league. So we're doing that here in Scotland, in the Premiership. We're playing 34 games at least, 38. So when he says he's playing 60, is he comparing their league against all of the Rangers games, which I get to is roughly 60 games if we're looking in the cups. So I don't know where they're getting the figures from, but it's an eye opener because based on that, if they had only playing 34 games a season and they never get anywhere in cups and things like that in Europe, then I don't know what wages they've got. They shouldn't have as much wages as our boys. If our boys are getting 60 games, you know what I mean? So I wonder what the wages are like there. The other thing, you're absolutely right. When you've got to start picking who we're having, who's going to be our manager, what kind of shape are we going to play, that kind of thing. And that's got to be done at the very top level of the football side. It's got to be done, and it has to be right. The fans are not going to be happy if we don't get it right first time. We're not even finished this season yet, and we're talking about the next steps for the club. And the club need to be able to get the end of the season and get it out of our system, because it needs to go. Major disappointments all the way along the line. We don't want any of them. We must be able to start the next season clean sheet, and with decent players in my books. Hopefully we're not sitting here, excuse me, in the 30th of June or something like that, waiting on players coming in. And all the pre-season stuff's all done. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to get to that.
No, shouldn't they bridge the vast majority of players' contracts? I think come up I think they're up on the 1st of June, or that week. Usually most players' contracts, if they're leaving the club and that, expire in about then, I believe. And listen, there'll maybe be players that we should have. I think there'll be some idea of the players. Coppin should have an idea at the moment while he's still at the club going forward, whether he'll be there long term or no, I don't know, AK, but there'll be a portfolio of players that we've had on the radar anyway, I think. But then again, that'll probably come down to the manager. I think until the manager comes in, AK, and we know what sort of style and brand of football he's going to play, then we can see what type of players we need for the squad to carry the ones that we've already got.
Aye, definitely. I mean, if you're playing a 4-2-3-1, which we did under Common, you've got to the players, you've got to the jigsaw pieces to fit the puzzle. There's no point in I think that was apparent that we didn't, because as soon as we started missing some key players, key defenders, key midfielders, it all unravelled in front of us. So if it's a new manager that plays 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2 even, which seems to be a thing in the past, I think there's still scope to play all sorts of formations, but the players have got to fit the mould. And you're right, everybody's got to be in alignment. Director of football, Niels Coppin, the scouts, then the manager, and then we look at the players in the squad that we've got available. But I think you're right as well. I think discussions have already been made, which was the case last year too. Lundstrom's forum went off the face of the earth. I think he was told weeks before the end of the season that he wasn't getting the extension that he looked for. I think Golson was also told the same. And I think it's been apparent this year. I think that might be an undercurrent of why Butland's form's been so poor, because we've got that wage on the bill. I think they're going to look to get that off. I think Hadji's the same. I think Matondo's been put out there for good reason. Cifuentes were obviously still looking to get rid of Ben Davies, Dow. I think all the guys have already been told, find yourselves new clubs or get your agents out there. And I think we've got to go forward with what we have.
Hope I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling Matondo's just going to end up back here at the start of next season. He might be the harder one to get out the door unless he's impressed in Germany, but I know he'd been out injured for a bit and I think he's back again, so I don't know. But Cifuentes is a funny one as well. See, to be honest, we've hardly actually seen him. He had a few games, but under Michael Beale, when things were a bit erratic at the time, and he told us he'd be a box-to-box player and stuff like that. But we've never really seen him, Bridge. And he's another one that probably need to try and see if we can get a couple of pounds for and get him out the door. Maybe it'd be even $1.5 million or something, 2 million tops, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
I read some this morning saying that Cifuentes is in the squad, are available to be selected for selection for the weekend. I don't know if it's true or not. I read it somewhere. So there's a chance that he's there, that around about. And the way the experience that we've got available to us, Cifuentes might just fit in for us. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that, Bridge, at all. I don't even know if he's anywhere near the club, to be honest. I'm not sure. Listen, it's tune time. So if you gentlemen would like... Yes.
I was just going to jump in there with Bridge, man. It's like the old thing with the family fortunes. If that answer's up there, I'll give you the money myself.
3, 2, 1, dusty bin. Right, if you two gentlemen would like to go on mute, it's time for the tune.
I close my eyes and picture I never even think about the 40 shades of green. The lads that I will sing about, King William's chosen few, are a credit to our loyal club in their shirts of royal blue. I think that I can see again Davy Wilson on the wing, Miller, Brand and Henderson, their praises we did sing. Greg and Shearer played their part, and Slim Jim Baxter too, and they lifted many trophies in their shirts of royal blue. The Hibs, the Hearts, the Celtic, the two teams in Dundee, and the Northern Lights of Aberdeen don't mean that much to me. And other teams throughout the land have supporters, just a few, but the team we love is Rangers in the shirts of royal blue. I think that I can see again Davy Wilson on the wing, Miller, Brand and Henderson, the praises we did sing. Greg and Shearer played their part, and Slim Jim Baxter too, and they lifted many trophies in their shirts of royal blue. And they lifted many trophies in their shirts of royal blue, and lifted many trophies in their shirts of royal blue.
Hi, welcome to Southside Super 6 for April the 26th. The first selection this weekend is Leyton Orient and Wycombe. The second selection is Blackburn and Watford. The third selection is Preston and Plymouth. The fourth selection is Tranmere and Crewe. The fifth selection is Exeter and Huddersfield. And the sixth selection is Barrow against Bromley. This weekend we're going for under 2.5 goals. And just to let you know, the Leyton Orient Wycombe game kicks off at 12:30. If you take all six selections for under 2.5 goals, it pays 33.5 to 1.
Aye. Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Well, AK, how could you not?
You just know that's going to go over 2.5 goals, don't you?
I was sick of last week, I know. I seen one was 12:30 the day. I went, oh no, it's already on, you know. See, the last time I'd done this right, it was 12:30 kick-off, so I did another Super 6, didn't I? Aye. And as you know, the one that kicked off at 12:30 won, and the other 5 bounced in. The new one that I did, I get beat by 1. So I thought I'll just leave it.
So there's method to your madness, then?
No, just madness in me, mate, that's all. Any method. So do you like that wee tune?
Cracker, wasn't it, Bridge? You remember?
I love the tunes. I absolutely love them. What band was it on? Maybe God Almighty. Is it South Old School Blue? It's probably one of his tunes. If not, the other one will tell us. No problem at all. Can't remember names now, for God's sake. So
there's a few people done it. I don't know who done that one, the original one, but there's a few.
That was really good. That was really good. I enjoyed that, and it's quite nice and light. You know, it's quite nice and light.
Anyway, talking about shirts in royal blue, seems to be we're going to be Umbro, Castor. Now I believe this is what I believe, for what I've been told. Castor will, at the moment, will still distribute and possibly manufacture the shirts as well, but we are going under the Umbro brand, AK.
Aye, well, interesting. Umbro, we had a good relationship with for many years, certainly a few decades in the I don't know if it's as far back as the 70s, but certainly the 80s and the 90s. They made a hell of a lot of shirts before we moved on to Admiral. I remember them early Soonest tenor in the early 90s, and then it was Adidas and Nike and stuff, wasn't it? The Castor, it's red, white and blue is the colours, isn't it? I wasn't too enamoured with the style of the shirt, to be honest with you, mate, and first looking at it, but we'll just need to see and wait. But the merchandise is a big thing for the club's finances, so I'm sure the Bears will support the club and buy them in numbers as they usually do. That'll be two of my holiday shirts anyway, guaranteed.
Aye, it's tough. Obviously, it's a branding change. I believe they'll still supply the strips and distribute them, Bridge. But it looks like it will be Umbro. I don't know if you've seen a wee snippet of the one that was maybe leaked. Didn't really like the look of that, if I'm honest. But aye, it looks like it will be Umbro until further notice then, starting with this season.
I quite like the Umbro stuff, to be honest. But I believe that, I'm sure we were talking about this the other week as well, that the idea would be that Castor was still manufactured for Umbro when it comes to Rangers, only for Rangers, you know, because they must have some sort of deal with Umbro to do this. So I don't think they're I tell a lie, I don't know, but I don't think that they're going to they're going to manufacture them. I believe that the mob is with us now, the mob are with us now. They'll do the manufacturing of it. I just think that's the case, but I'd like to see Umbro supply them. That's what I'd like to see. I like the Umbro kit. I did.
Aye, some of the strips. I mean, I think sometimes I remember a good number of years back we brought out that purple thing that was meant to be our European strip and stuff like that. It is costly for the kits, and obviously they're bringing out these kits. They're all the professional ones, the ones the players wear and that. And I remember being in the Rangers shop, AK, and they're starting at about 110 to 120 quid. They were on sale for in the Rangers shop.
Yeah, it's a dear old game. The sportswear. I think they've got to be sensible with the prices. All right, they're looking to make profit, but I see, you get emails every day, every week off the Rangers themselves. They're getting 80% off and all that at this stage of the season just to clear their shelves. But they're selling you them for what was it, 75 quid, 80 quid, something like that at the start of the season. It's a lot of money. But I mean, if we go back to the days when you had a home strip and a away strip, maybe a third strip and possibly a tracksuit, and that was it. But now you've got all the training tops, you've got everything under the sun. The juniors are accommodated, the ladies are accommodated, the gents, everything's there. Training stuff, golf stuff. You could rack up thousands very easily on it, and I'm pretty sure the merchandise does appeal to some of the supporters. Certainly I've bought a few myself over the years that's accumulated more than probably what I should, but I'll leave it there in case of wife's listening. But it's money that's gone back to the club, and you just hope it's getting utilised in a way that's better than just now.
Obviously, they've not gave any details yet. I dare say something might come out in time, Bridge, but I think at the moment, I think we have to take it that the detail and the thing's still the same as it was. As in what we get per strip and whatnot with Castore, the deal, they've not actually said what the deal is yet, but take it with surmise not be on similar lines to what it has been in the past year or two.
Well, I know there are a number of lots and lots of people are unhappy with Castore. Others are really love it. I think it's brilliant. I'm very happy. I don't necessarily buy strips anymore. Nobody can get them first.
You can get the suit, Brad. You can buy a suit. Get a Rangers suit.
I'd look good in a Rangers suit, I'll tell you. I don't think I'll be doing anything like that. However, I do applaud everybody that buys the strips, and they are, as AK says and yourself has said, they are a key money for us. You know, it brings a lot of cash into the club, and I think we're getting a bigger cut of this from the strips as well this year. So that may be because I'm Umbro, but I really do hope that it's successful, and I hope the Bears go in their millions and buy it. You know, all over the world, just buy the strip and get on your back whenever you can. I don't mean to go parading in bad places. Just get on your back whenever you can and enjoy wearing it. Because it does that one. The one you showed there, Southside, looks a really good strip. Looks quite nice.
I think Castore range hasn't been too bad, to be honest. I think our players and stuff, when they do press conferences and stuff, the training gear looks smart. The tracksuits sometimes look smart. So I think that for that side, I think it looks presentable when our players are wearing it and travelling with the stuff. But I know at the start there was a lot of problems with the strips and stuff, quality-wise and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just the money they charge for it, and it puts a lot of pressure onto parents for the kids that are all wanting the new strip. And I don't mind them bringing out 1 or 2 strips in the season. I think you should have a home and away strip, to be honest. I think when they start bringing out a 3rd strip, or even try and kick the arse at it, should I say, for the 4th strip, I think then it gets a bit much for people. And I think that sometimes maybe people try and switch off for it, AK at times, you know, because it's a heavy burden if you're taking kids to the football and your season books and buying the merchandise and the strips all the time. People can only do so much.
Aye, you're 100% correct there. And Oxy's touched on it before. See the likes of when we're playing Aberdeen and we're playing in our white strip or our black strip or our red strip. Why we not playing our blue strip? I'm kind of old school. See if we've not got a colour clash with our opponents and we don't need to change our jersey for a blue jersey. That's the jersey Rangers should be playing in. So I'm not going to change my opinion on that.
Aye, I'm sure. I don't know when they'll be releasing it, but I'd imagine it'll be pretty soon. I think they'll want to get it out there, and I think once the new owners come in, it'll be marketed for their end as well, Bridge, and get more exposure out there worldwide on the strip. I know we're pretty worldwide anyway, but I think they'll have a bigger plan in place to promote more merchandise in the club as a whole. AK?
Bridge is on mute.
No, I'm trying to click the button, you fool. Sorry. Yeah, no.
I was saying I think they'll expose us a lot more once they get the branding done, and we'll probably be in their shop, their club shops or whatever are there. I think they'll probably open a couple of shops, maybe even abroad. I think they'll certainly put us on the map to get as much exposure as possible.
I hope they take some wee snippets of games, big games at Ibrox. For me, anyway, some snippets and show them out in there, whatever they open and whatever malls they put them in, to show Rangers games from, Rangers Celtic or whatever, European games preferably, and let the people, potential customers see it, let them get and buy it. I don't know if we got a big enough audience for sales, that is, other than, I don't know if Rangers can get into the marketplaces that the Yank mob are coming in. They'll probably good markets in America, and maybe Rangers will do well with that. I hope so. I really do hope so. Sell a lot more. Aye, that's what we do. Sell a lot more.
I think one of the things they touched on at the question and answer that Patrick Stewart done, AK, is I don't think they've got any intention of doing anything much with the stadium at the moment, which I'm quite happy with, because I want as much investment into the first team squad as possible. And then in time, if they want to make alterations that they see fit, fair enough. But at the moment, I'm just interested in getting the money in, get rid of the deadwood at the club, and just get everything put into the first team and get us back to winning ways.
But listen, I think we've spoke about it on here as panellists and callers and comments in the feed on YouTube and Facebook. I think punters have recognised and questioned the strategy of the previous board going forward. Why are we investing money into Blue Sky Lounges and building Edmondson House and potentially looking at turning the superstore into a bar? Why are we doing all these things with the cantilevers and things like that? We obviously know the disability thing there was a thing on the agenda for a good part of the last 20 years, so that was the reason why that was done. But when we had a chance to invest into our team and improving the team the way Gerard suggested we should do, we didn't do it. And I think that was part of the problem in how the team declined and why we didn't win as much as we should have, because we didn't invest in the park, properly.
Here.
You know, so I think they've got to recognise faults for the previous board. And a wee question for yourselves, Southside, and the listeners there. This merchandise deal, was that agreed with the previous board, or was it the new owners party discussions on that? Because the Castor deal, I believe, was coming up at the end of the season. Was it the previous board that agreed an extension to this? And this is why we're going down the kind of umbrella route, because I would like to think that if American owners come in there, Nike's massive in America. Why we know? I mean, they would see the numbers that we are selling in merchandise. Why we not expanding to these sorts of markets? Because the Castor guy tell you, getting Rangers on their books was the thing that sent them over the edge worldwide.
I think Patrick Stewart alluded to the fact that it was run by the new board and stuff like that. They were aware of everything, and they've rubber stamped it basically, because the agreement allows Castor to manufacture and distribute Umbro's elite performance kits, but with their own iconic double diamond branding, and they'll be supplying across markets across Europe, which will take them into Germany and Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, Denmark, etc. So I dare say that it would have been agreed by the new board that's coming in, the new owners. I would for what he said at the question and answer, AK. But like I say, going forward after that, we'll see what happens.
I would like to think so, but I wouldn't like to think we're tied into like a 5-year contract the way we were with Castor there. Because we've seen clubs in the past who have been with Castor basically rip up their contract and buy them out to go away elsewhere. I hope we've got that option on the table as well, because we want to maximise our profits with our merchandise sale. You know, we don't want to. The financial fair play is a big thing for our club, and where are we going to, make our most money? Well, if it's not on the part in the European football runs, it's going to be off the part with merchandise and that. So we've got to look to go into that market and expand it as much as possible.
I agree. I think, like I said, I think they've looked at it, and they've probably looked at the numbers that we sell and shirts, etc. And they seem to be happy to go with it, Bridge. That's what seemed to come back for the question and answer for Patrick Stewart.
Well, I take your word for what's been said insofar as the Rangers board at the moment is concerned, that they know about this and they've spoke about it and so on and so forth. But I do take what Alex is saying there, what AK is saying about the sort of the different markets, and the American market is absolutely massive. And why, if Rangers are the 49ers group there, if they've got access to that market in total, then why on earth are we going with Umbro or indeed Castor or a mixture of both? We should be looking at brands like that, Nike, things like that. I don't know, of course. I don't know anything about the branding and what happens, you know. But I know that Nike is just massive, and if we could get in line with them, I'd be wonderful. Wouldn't that just be brilliant? I'd like that. I'd like that. But the 49ers know all these things anyway, and I don't know what kind of strip deal they've done with Leeds, just for saying sake. I don't know if it'd be difficult to find out that, but I don't know what kind of deal they've got with Leeds. So maybe Rangers are getting the same deal. Maybe they don't. Maybe they can't get a good deal for Leeds, and they're going to. That's why they're going with what do you call it, Umbro, and with Castor. So maybe that's the best deal we could get at the moment until things change.
I don't know. Like I said, it's been there, and there's a rumour that we were going to go down that road, possibly with Umbro, when they got the licensing rights to distribute, and Umbro are obviously happy to let them do that, and they're still part of us at the moment. Whether it'll be changed in the future, it'll be up to the new regime when they're in. But it sounds as if they're happy at the moment with what the deal is. They'll obviously know what the deal is. They've not gave us any idea yet, but I'm sure in time it will probably come out and they'll release some type of figures to let us know what we can get for the deal, or we'll see it when we go to the AGM. AK, any thoughts on managers? Do you want a British manager, or would you go back down the foreign route again?
I'm going to make a suggestion that's a wee bit.
Here we go. You might be Buzz. This could be HR, and this could be HR on Monday.
He's mental. AK's mental. He's mental.
Right, brace yourselves. Hold on. Right, on you go.
It's, by the way, it's a name that's been linked with your club previously, and the previous managerial interview process that we went down when John Bennett was there. Who was our CEO? Was it Bisgrove at the time, or somebody else? He was involved in it, and then it was Graham Souness, wasn't it? So that they came to the conclusion that Clement won it by majority, but Souness wanted Frank Lampard. Now, Frank Lampard, I know he's at Coventry, but look at where Coventry is just now compared to when he came in. I think he came in and Coventry was like fourth bottom of the championship. They're now up to it, I think, eighth or missed job the guy's done. You know, he's been at Rangers games with his dad before. He knows about the club. He's British. He comes in the same kind of ilk as your Steven Gerrard, but I think the Steven Gerrard thing, I think there's a wee bit of split diversity in the Rangers support bridge for a lot of the Rangers supporters to accept Gerrard back. I think Frank Lampard could be our man. That's my suggestion.
Would you think Bridge HR, or do you think there's any chance that we'd look at Lampard?
Well, I think last season when we're looking at when we first looking for what do you call him? So Clement could take him in. I think Lampard was in some sort of shortlist at that time, and could have been one of the managers. But I think he's about 20th in line, you know, something like that. You know, I like Frank Lampard. I've got no problem with him coming in. If he came into your club, I'm sure he could do a good job. It'll be quite a big step up from where he is at the moment. And I don't know whether Coventry are ever going to win the championship, to be honest. But they might get into that top four or top three, whatever it is, for promotion, you know. And if they got promoted, well, that'd be really well done, Frank Lampard. Then, but then we could say we missed a chance to get hold of Frank Lampard. But I don't know whether Frank Lampard would want to leave. You know, if he's doing really well in the championship, knocking on the door of getting a position in the Premiership, I don't think Frank Lampard would want to leave that club.
We'd run up the road, Bridge. We'd run up the road. If we offered him a job, he'd bought Peter.
But do you think, given the position that they're in, if they're up top of the league, wow.
No matter. Size of Glasgow Rangers playing in Europe and everything that goes with it, the new owners coming in, probably get a bit of money to spend. He'd run up the road. I don't think he would hang about in Coventry, to be honest. I think he's doing no a bad job. I've noticed them that they've climbed the league from where they were. I thought the first time at Chelsea, he was under constraints and all that, where they couldn't buy players, and he done really well. And then the second season, he didn't do so well. And then he went to where'd he go after that? He went somewhere else, Derby.
Derby, yeah.
And I think he done quite well there. But it's a massive. This is a massive next appointment. We've wasted, as we've said, we've went through an amount of managers there in the last number of years. This one's got to be right. It's got to work, and it's got to get firing straight away. We've got qualifiers of Europe, and most importantly, we need to get back to winning in ways in Scotland, first and foremost, and that starts by getting that league title. So whoever we bring in, the pressure's going to be on, and whether has he got enough experience, do you think? Probably he's done his time for a while, AK. People will say Sean Dyche, I've heard him getting mentioned. You've heard the usual, Rafa Benitez to Steven Gerrard. You know, it's whoever it is, it's just got to be the right appointment. You know, it's got to work straight away. We can't begin down this road 18 months down the line.
Oh, 100%. I just did a wee look there at the Championship. Coventry are actually in the playoff positions, up to 6 there. So what a fantastic job that Lampard has done there. I'm the same as yourself. Even if he did get promoted into the Premier League with Coventry, and they're obviously outsiders because they're up against some big clubs down there spending big money and better squads and all that. But the fact that he's got, you know, a response to the players at that level, to bring them up, to be so close to up to promotion to the Premier League, that just underlines for me how good a job. I think it was with Derby and they got to the semi-final, the playoffs as well. As you say, he's had obviously his playing background with Chelsea and England and stuff, and then the short managerial stint there, he worked with the academy players. He's obviously got a good eye for a player. I think he ticks a lot of boxes, which Gerrard does, but he's not bringing the baggage that Gerrard did, and he's certainly not got to be bringing Michael Beale. I think that'd be a no-no right away. So I think it might be a reasonable suggestion. Just putting it out there. If anybody agrees or disagrees.
When Southside was saying, when I mentioned it, would they want to come? Do you think he would do just as Southside said? They'd run up the road if Rangers offered them a position. Let's say they got into the playoffs and they won, got through, and they get a promotion, and Rangers drop the bomb and say, we become up and coming Rangers manager. Do you think he would come to Rangers?
I think he would. I think he would.
Well said then. I'm only saying you agree with Southside. I think he would rather, personally, it's only me, I think he would want to stay and take his chance in the English Premiership. And hopefully some poor guy is going to get the sack and they come and poach him away to Coventry for a fortune, you know. That's what I think. However, I'm quite happy. I'm glad you said what you said.
Frizz, you look at the English clubs there, and I'm not an expert on it, but obviously you observe what's happening there the last couple of years. The gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting wider and wider every year. Your free promoted teams the last 2 years have been straight back down. So where's the kind of, you know, the incentive there that he's just going to be survival mode? I think he would look at Rangers, the pedigree, the club, the stature, the history, the heritage, everything is box tick stuff that would get him a bigger move to, you know, to where he wants to be. And I think he would. He's got an affection, an emotion for the club because of the attachment with Chelsea, and that he knows the stature what we have, in, you know, world football. And I think there's an opportunity there that he could, you know, unwaken a giant and be the hero that we all strive for our new manager to be.
Good shout up there. Okay, good.
I see where he is now, and you're saying that he's took them away up the league from where they were when he went in. And he's one that might be getting considered. I don't know if I say that it'll be done to Thelwell to probably pick the manager the way it should be. Your director of football usually comes in and he picks the manager. So it'll be interesting. There'll be a lot of names getting flung about until finally we hear who it is. It's the same when the manager comes in. Will he have a big say on the players, or will it be down to the director of football? We'll sit down together, I would imagine. AK set out the style of play. He'll know what he plays when he comes in. I'm going to take a guess here. I think that most managers, as you look around about Europe, but they all play the 4-2-3-1. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's what we go back to, and then it'll come down to, is it going to be director of football, Coppin, and maybe one other, if he brings in this other guy that he was talking about, Gareth Prosser, head of academy, to maybe show a pathway for the youth team as well. But is it going to be done to him and Coppin just now saying to him, right, here's 3 players, one do you want, or do you think we'll just be buying them in and saying, well, there you go, he fits the profile, everything that you're looking for with analytics, so that's who you're getting?
Listen, I think there's a danger with a lot of clubs. You've watched Moneyball, and it seems to be Brighton have went down that route with the analytics, and they're looking at different markets. So all of a sudden they get a big success, and then every club's got to follow that same blueprint. Every club's different. You've got to follow your own blueprint. I think you've just got to be sensible. I think you've got to have, big boy discussions around the table and come to a compromise. I don't think it would work in any club, a director of football being a dictator to the manager, because the manager might not want the player, he might not like the player. So there's going to be a clash there right away. I think the manager has got to have a compromise. If he's not getting a certain player and they're forcing another onto him, then I think he's got to get his own pick of players as well. They're going to look at their numbers. They've got to look at how many games does he play per season, how many games is there an injury record there, what kind of wages he's on, what's he won. I want to see winners back in our team, no matter whether it's for Championship, whether it's for Belgian League, for Swedish League, Norwegian League. Look across Europe in that scale as well, but obviously cherry pick some Scottish players there and just try and concoct the ingredients that's going to give us a winning team on the park. But you look at our squad now, you look at the players that our recruitment we've had in the last 4 or 5 years, name me your winners that we brought to the club. At least when Gerrard was there, he brought experience with Defoe, he had Alan McGregor, he had Stephen Davis, he had guys who won stuff in the club, and that filtered through the rest of the players. Who's our winners in the team? Who's our leaders in the team? We've not got many, and I think that's part of the problems.
100%. You've not had many players that have come into your team that have been fighting for league titles or anything like that in other countries that they've been at, or been winning much or whatever. We're trying to build a team and we're going down the youngster route. As we've seen, we try to tap into Cortez, Diamande, Ignaman, Yefte. And then you're looking at your Scottish player, Bridge, when we've went in and got Connor Barron. We've took Suter in the past. But I think going forward, I think we need to get a wee bit more experience as well. I think you need to go out and get the player at 25, 26 and bring them into the team. You can always supplement 1 or 2 of them, 3 of them maybe even, just for experience. And hopefully that they'll play well every week and turn up for their work, and they might become the leaders that help push the team. But the group that's in there, the new that's going forward, they should all start acting like leaders if they're part of that squad for next season. Bridge, they've been installed what it needs to be, what you need to be to play for Rangers for the current manager and backroom staff at the moment. So it's about them setting the standards out when the new players come in, if they're still there, and demand that's what happens at the club. But football's changed, and it's not as easy as that now, Bridges, but we think it is.
Well, he's anybody that's listened to me, when I speak about Rangers, what I think Rangers should be and what they are now, I think how can they say this? They're not at the level that Rangers should be for players. Some of the players that we're using, and key players, and have done not too bad for us, like the big shooter at centre half. He's done not too bad for us. Balogun, when he comes in, normally does a wee turn for us. But the other ones that were brought in, I only talk about defenders at the moment, if you don't mind. Proper, whom I had great hope for. No, he's not done it, and we know he's not done it. The boy Inciela, I think he's a fantastic player. Looks really good. Looks good on the ball. I would like to, if I could, if it was me, I would like to give him 5 or 6 runs at left back to see how he copes at that area. Because I want, if it was me, and I'm only me, I would want to bring in the centre half at Rangers should never be anything under 6'5". Never anything under 6'5", and must be able to play football, must be able to read the game, and must be able to have a commanding presence there. So in other words, we've got 2 big monsters, if possible, in the back. But that's me, and that's the way I look at it. And I listen to you guys talking, and you talk sense. You're talking a lot of sense. But you look at our team, throughout our team, from the back to the front, we don't have, I would suggest, we have one quality player that can play for us, and we're playing him right out in the left wing. I think Igamani is probably the best quality player we've got. And for some reason, and I've got no idea what it is, we're not playing him there. And even if you want to stick him up as a 2, with 2 up there, he's not getting the chances, because the man that's playing beside him, Dessers, won't pass the ball to him in general. That's my fear. And that's the way I look at it. Connor Barron come in, I like the wee guy. I think he's going to be a wee workhorse for us. And along with we got Rexan, I think he does Raskan, sorry. They two are a good pairing together. But I don't know whether Connor Barron is a high enough quality to go a full season with us. He needs to be a lot fitter than he has. That might just be down to illnesses and fitness and so on and so forth. And he gets a good close season with the Rangers this break. He might turn out to be quite a good player for us. That's the way I look at it. And Diamande, I think Diamande could be a really good player if he could only somebody put the correct heat on and make it point the right way. Because for sometimes you look at him, he's looking one way and he puts the ball the other, that kind of thing. So that's the way I look at our team. I don't think we have got any quality players in our team at all. That's me, it's my opinion, with the exception of Igamani.
Aye, it's interesting to see what sort of team he picks tomorrow. Do you think he'll go with the 3 centre halves, or do you think he'll go with a flat back 4? Tomorrow at AK, do you think he'll change it, or do you think the way St Mirren normally set up, he might set up with the sort of 3? And if he's picking the 3, I think we know Balogun's it. I think you would probably find it would be, I think it could be proper if he's going with the 3 proper NCL and Shooter.
I don't know. I don't think that works for us, to be honest with you. I think there's been a lot of changes made with Barry in all the games that were played. You know, you can look back 3, then we go back 4, then there's a lot of Diamande getting, I still can't get my head around that one. Diamande getting took out of position to play left back to accommodate Barn. Try and make it simple. Try and make the instructions simple. I had a wee stab at a team earlier if you want to have a laugh and hear it.
Well, all right, before you do it, Barry did say the youngsters need to earn their place in the team and stuff like that. If you're having a radical change here.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make Allbird drop his tea. I'm bringing back Butland, and I'm doing it for good reason, to put him in the short window. To put him in the short window to get rid of him at the end of the season.
Is that a good idea, or is that maybe people you want to see him make more blunders to the end of the season, make him unsellable?
I don't know. I just think, for me, Butland's done. So I'm going to have a stab at a team here, Emmy. Butland, Tavernier, Suter, Inciala, Yefty, back 4. Raskin, Rice, Curtis, Cherny, Igaman, Cortez.
Okay. Back four.
No Dessers. What? No Dessers.
Oh, he's a dumpling on Albridge.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Never found a space for Danilo.
He's another one I would hunt at the end of the season if we could, mate.
No, I'll go with quite a few of the ones you've got in midfield and up front. You saw you Diamandi, Raskin and Rice. Or did you leave Diamandi out?
No, I left Diamandi out the thing as well. Didn't mean to, right enough, but Raskin I like Diamandi, by the way. I think he's a good player, the boy. I think he's been one of the few shining lights for us this year.
Diamandi's been really good in Europe for a lot, and if you actually said on here many a time, he gets kicked about in Europe. And last week he was our most full player in the first 15 minutes of the game. 20 minutes, he was picking balls up and starting to drive forward and nicking the ball and that. And I think in Europe he showed up well. I think we missed him down in Manchester, and then we missed him again in the first leg. But I think in the Premier League, Bridge, as you said, sometimes he's just been a bit erratic and he's been a bit all over the place at times. And I think if we could get back to showing a bit of consistency in his league form, it would be better for us and him as a whole. And I was hoping with Barry being in there and Neil McCann and that, they might have helped him a bit more. And he did say in interviews that they have spoken to him and tried to help his game. But I think in Europe, he's been really good for us. So always bags of energy.
One of our problems, as you know, we're fullbacks, not the greatest, but they do when they're being, because every team that plays against us now hammer our fullbacks, and we tend to see our midfielders going back or someone else going back to cover alongside the fullbacks, and that is taking two men out of the game. Nearly every time they're taking two men out of the game because it's the fullbacks that are, shall we say, weak. They're not too bad going forward, so I'm not trying to take everything away from them. They're not too bad going forward, but they just can't defend. We've seen that the whole season, in particular the whole season. Our left back, my God almighty, how many times the back are in him, how many times they got inside him, how many times does he let him go goal side him, and so on and so forth. It's all there. How many times does he let him and Tav are the worst in the team for it? They don't follow up. They don't watch. They know it's for some reason or other. The guy walks past them, bang, there you go. And that's the man who gets the ball and puts it in the net. So all these things happen. Our defence are quite poor in that sense, and we all know that. And I don't want to go on too much about that. So, however, tomorrow, or rather the weekend, we're going to be playing St Mirren, and they've got some big, tall guys in their team, and they'll get rammed up front. And I've got some speed merchants in there as well, and they'll get rammed up front, and we'll get murdered if we don't get our game together. And I would play Diamandi because I think he's a good player. If we could only get his head right, I would play him. But if you take Diamandi out and he has to go back and help the fullback, then you're knackered because you've no game that's going to run up the way. They just don't have it. They don't have the ability to hold the ball. So you got a whole myriad. I've just come away a lot of crap there. So I'll let you go on with that. Sorry, Southside.
No, it needs a wee bit of mixture, Bridge, as you say, in your midfield, you know. And Diamandi gets about the park. He's meant to get up the park. It's like me add more goals to his game, get more shots at goal, especially in the league. And I think Raskin can sort of play further forward as an 8. He probably could, no problem, but he's the one that sort of sits in the middle, and that seems to be where Bailey sits when he's come on the park. And I don't know if they'll complement each other all the time. You might, if you're asking Bailey maybe to sit as a 6 and maybe ask Raskin to sit right as an 8 slightly. But we've got a few options in there for tomorrow, but I don't think we'll stray too much for the normal sort of 11 that's been starting. I think you could question whether Dessers start as they play Ignaman. I'd like to see Cortez start, and I'd like to see Finlay Curtis even get game time. Probably even bringing Thingme on later on. Finlay Curtis and like Guy Cortez some time to start. But I don't know what Barry will do, but I think it'll probably be more or less 8 or 9 of the ones I think we could all think it'll probably start like Czerny. Like I said, it could be Dessers or Ignaman. Ignaman doesn't look comfortable in the two up there, does he? AK.
Aye. I think he's a kind of loner a wee bit. He does, spur of the moment things, and he certainly occupies defenders. But certainly out on the left, he looks lost. He's not involved in the game. He's not the focal point of the team. He needs to be involved in the play. And, learn the role, because we seem to forget the kind of age of some of these young guys that we're introducing in the team. There's a good collection of guys that's run about the 20, 21, 22 mark. And they're trying to get used to the physical aspect of a new league, and obviously the expectations and demands of supporters that we've got. All the factors come into play. In essence, we've not been good enough. Consistency-wise, we haven't been good enough. We've not scored enough goals, nowhere near it, and we've conceded more than what we should, and we've obviously dropped far too many points to be even in contention for the league at this stage of the season, which is unacceptable for our support, and quite rightly so. Since the turn of the year, Celtic have dropped 14 points, and we dropped 20 points. That's unforgivable, because we could have been on their tails, but because of our poor performances and inconsistent displays and shocking defeats, particularly at Ibrox, we're basically handing them another league with 5 games to go. So we've got to sort things out, mate. It isn't good enough. And it's just, it's can we get all the players out that we're looking to get out? Hopefully, but probably no, because we know some of them will dig heels. That's what they've been like, and they're hard to get rid of, these sort of players. But eventually we will get rid of them. And then that's where we start to kick on. But it's not going to be an overnight fix. I think we all have to accept that now. With the financial fair play constraints, we've still got to work within our means. And it's going to be a long process. But hopefully the right recruitment of players will come in and improve us to look for the domestic honours and a league challenge of what we're looking for.
Time for patience, and it's just grown too thin now, to be perfectly honest. And it's got to be done this year. Whether, like I say, we'll not get everybody, but I believe we'll carry some of the players, and it'll be on them with the new players that come in, along with the manager, to make sure that we get back to winning straight away. And I know many managers can come in and maybe do a rebuild, or come start to do another part of a rebuild and maybe get success straight away all the time. But the support will not tolerate this bridge. No, it's been a long time. It's been too long, and it's time now. It needs to be reversed and start with winning trophies in Scotland and bagging that league title straight away. There's no excuses now. I'm not really prepared to wait another year, 2 years, and then think, we'll get it right in the 3rd year. It's not at that stage. It's got to be done straight away now.
Yeah, actually, I think most days one's a go to the game anyway, and we see Rangers playing poorly, and then all of a sudden the next game they're up fitness away to go, but not at Ibrox. Sorry, to go 5 games at Ibrox no winning is just inconceivable, and unforgivable, by the way, unforgivable, because a lot of that's down to the players. But I don't know if the players understand what the managers and the manager team are wanting them to do. Sometimes they come out and they're like, they go mental, but that's normally when we're out at home. Great recoveries and so on and so forth. But I think what you're saying is right. Some of the stuff you're saying is right. They've got to get it right this season, end of this season. They've got to get the signings, close season. We can't be sitting, as I said, waiting for whenever it is, the transfer window closes on Thursday, and we haven't got anybody in. We've only got 1 player in. That's what happened to us last season. We only had 1 player in or something like that with 2 days to go. But by that time, all your pre-season's all done. We want players in that be able to start the pre-season. So it's got to be managed right, in my opinion, from a purchasing perspective, bringing players in. So that's never necessarily the manager, but it's whoever's in there buying the players has got to get it done quickly. And for here, I'm not being funny, for here on, we can't talk about lack of money. That people that are taking us over cannot expect to be, shall we say, listened to if they're not giving the club money. They need to give the club the money to buy the players and go out and do the business. That's what they need.
I believe there will be. I think we'll get I think we'll get some money in for players that like Ben Davis and Kieran Dowell, who are doing quite well down there, and I think all indications are Birmingham would like to keep them, and if they don't, maybe another club might come in for them and they might want to go there. So I think there's scope there for us to get some money in for them. Cifuentes, probably, if we can get a club or whatever it is that's happening in the background with him, I dare say we might be able to get him away. And then Matondo's the only problem. Tom Lawrence and Hadji leaves, and then we'll see if somebody comes in for Dessers, and should we get a fee for him, and as you mentioned in OAK regarding Danilo, might come good, but we're 2 years, I think, in it. Is that 2 seasons now down the road? And it's just, no, we need a physical presence in this team. See, when you go into Europe as well, just even in Scotland, you need to have a bit more physicality. We need more in midfield and all. You need that physical presence that can get in and shove people off the ball. A bit of height causing problems in both boxes, a threat for set pieces. So I think we need a lot more physicality in our team going forward when we're going to buy the players going forward. No matter how talented they are, they need to be quite physical for us going forward, because I think we look across your midfield and that, we're dead light, and we're talking about adding Lyle Cameron into our squad, and you look at the size of him, when you add him in with Connor Barron and Raskin, Diamondi, and then you maybe hope that maybe Bailey Rice, who's got a bit more physicality about him, but still got less experience than any of them. We need to bolster that, I think, don't we?
Aye, of course. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube, but there's a great video on YouTube called Blue Steel, and it shows you all the players of the past, your John Browns, your Ian Fergusons, your Terry Hurlocks, guys of that ilk. You need that bit of grit in there, determination, but they could also play as well where they wanted. Souness was the best example of that as a player, as well as Gerrard. They had that bit of nastiness in them because they wanted to win more than anything. And that's the sort of mentality that we want back in our dressing room as quickly as possible. Winners breed success.
Aye, well, we all know that. That's the thing. You need to have that will to win. And I just think the modern day player nowadays, and they get paid that much money. And as I heard the show the other night, and we were talking about money, and Rashford, £425,000 a week. It just gets obscene now, Bridge. And I heard them talk about maybe structuring it, where you maybe get a better bonus if your wages are slightly lower, and you get a team bonus and stuff, which I'm never against. But I'm hoping that when the new owners come in, there'll be some type of wage structure and cap, because they'll be looking at it. I think they'll be looking at it, because I know Coppin had said when they first came in, they couldn't believe the wages that some of your players were on, and that was for us trying to move them on. You couldn't sell them back to Holland or Belgium or anything like that, because they don't pay that type of money. The minute you go for 25,000, you're not selling many players back to Holland and Belgium if you've got them for there. Yeah. So I think they'll need to make sure that the wage structure's done right.
Well, we've got to look at it. I think the Premiership's maybe a bad league to look at for player wages, but we need to get some consensus around the world. Like, what do they pay in Holland? So start from there. What do they pay in Holland? Well, are they what kind of quality players are getting now? Or top quality? So these top quality players, they'll jump at it to go to the English Premiership or La Liga or something like that, but not to come to Rangers. Well, some of them do, but they're no actually still playing at the level they think they are, and we end up getting them. And sometimes they turn out dross, as we know. We've got a few in our team. Very difficult situation. I hope they get all clarified. I agree with you. They should be looking to see what's happening in other countries and other leagues as far as wages are concerned, and trying to build a model that's going to suit Rangers and Rangers management. Because we can't have this again, 16 or 17 players lucky to get a game for us. No lucky that they're fit enough to get a game for us. That kind of thing. Some of them are just terrible what's happening in the club. So many injuries. We can't go through that again. That's got to stop. We've got to get a bit of sense back into the bit of management and get it done.
Aye, I hear you want to mention something that's forthcoming at the Armadillo, was it? Okay.
Yeah, I just did a wee look at some Rangers pages and that there, and a wee announcement there for Stuart Hay Productions. They're going to put on a Gallant Pioneers show on the 30th and the 31st of January next year at the SEC Armadillo. So Stuart's done the journey back. Anybody that's been to that show, been myself, I think you've been yourself, Southside, and many others. A great show, a great night. You know, about the journey back, obviously. And everybody has their story to tell. So Stuart told his story as best he could. There's a bit of humour in it. There's a bit of emotion in it. Obviously, there's some culture songs, shall we say. But the Gallant Pioneers are well on board. You know, the guys that run the M's at Ian McCall. I've been on it myself. Absolutely brilliant job that they going round about the Glasgow and showing where the founding fathers were brought up and where they played their first game, and how, you know, they elevated to Ibrox where it is now and how they founded the club. So it's a story about the Gallant Pioneers, and I think it's well worth supporting the guys. So that's the 30th and the 31st of January next year. So tickets are on sale now, I believe. So good luck to the guys for that.
I think I'll try and get along to that. It'd be good to go and see that. I did go at the journey back, and I thought you'd done quite well at that, actually. It was busy that night. It was certainly lively. There's a good bit of banter in it as well. But it was well thought out and well done. I thought, Bridge, I don't know if you've seen it or went to it, the journey back.
No, I did, pal.
But it was good, Bridge, you know. So the Gallant Pioneers, that'd be something to go and see, eh?
I think so, yeah. I think it'd be smashing to go and see that. I must try and get that where I get it. See how I go on.
Aye, well, we've came to that time of night, guys. So, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone that listened in this evening. Also, all the troops on the YouTube channel and out there on Facebook. I'd like to thank you all for listening to the show tonight. But I'll come to you first, AK.
Thanks to yourself, Southside, Bridgeman, the techie team, and obviously everybody that's listening there. The Rangers are back in town tomorrow, so tune in, watch the game, and hopefully we're cheering them on to a victory. On the Rangers.
And the people that listen on MixLR as well, I'd like to thank you for listening into the show. I'd like to thank you two guys first and foremost for helping us tonight. It's always appreciated and thoroughly enjoyed doing the show. And it's good to come on, have finally got on tonight as well and have a show. Thanks to the techie team in the background. So I'd like to thank them for all their efforts and hard work. It's not just before the show, it's been during the night and during the day for them. So I'd like to thank they two personally for everything they've done this evening. Bridgeman.
What can I say? Southside, marvellous show tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. AK, thank you very much for carrying me through this. And I've got obviously Techie Boys in the background, as you mentioned. And can I just say to all the Rangers fans that are listening in, listen to this. This game, the weekend, is the biggest game of the season for Rangers. Biggest game of the season. And we must win it. We must win it. Otherwise, we're going to end up as some sort of laughingstock in the country. We must win. Biggest game of the season. Everybody, keep it going for the Rangers, because the Rangers need you. Keep it going.
Certainly looking forward to tomorrow. heading down to St Mirren. So hopefully we'll get 3 points and a good performance for the Rangers, and I'm sure we'll be loud and proud behind that goal. There will be a pre-show tomorrow, starting at 2 o'clock. So tomorrow we'll be back then for 2 before the game kicks off at 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. So I'd like to thank you all for listening, and as always, there's only one team and one crown. Take it away, Fox.